Happy snow day, everyone. At least if you live in my area and other East Coast states. Today, I'm going to review The Lord of the Rings The Two Towers, Part 2 to the New Line trilogy, the epic trilogy by New Line. Both faithful to the book and not faithful where movie making requires, because if you shot the books the way they were written, each movie would be way longer than they are. It begins right where the first one left off, with the Fellowship split. Frodo and Sam in one direction, Merry and Pippin kidnapped by the Uruk-hai, and Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn in pursuit. And this film tops everything the first one did. Like I said, it's the second part to a great trilogy, and it builds on what the first one established. Now, I know when I did my Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle review, I said the first movie failed because it failed as a standalone, which is important for a trilogy. The big exception to that is things like this that were based on books that were meant to be a trilogy, which, fun fact, originally The Lord of the Rings wasn't meant to be a trilogy. Tolkien just wanted it printed, all of it printed at once, but given how massive it was going to be, it was deemed too expensive given the time. Now, the acting is so much, it's just as good, but it just feels better because they just naturally, as the trilogy goes on, the actors are ramping up the emotion, and you can feel that. We have Saruman turning his Uruk-hai forces on the kingdom of Edoras, home of the Horse Lords, and the king is being manipulated by Grima Wormtongue through Saruman, and Grima Wormtongue is played masterfully by Brad Dourif. The king is actually a good man, but between whatever Sauron's doing to him and Grima's manipulation, he just looks like a walking corpse. Eventually, due to an attack by the people of Edoras, Merry and Pippin escape. And I'm not going to go into the story anymore because you should all know it. But we get to meet Treebeard in Fangorn Forest, a treant. Another fun fact, Tolkien based elements of his description of Treebeard off his friend C.S. Lewis. And Treebeard was voiced by Gimli himself, John Rhys Davies. We get to see Aragorn in this take a few more reluctant steps closer to I need to be the king of Gondor. Eventually, they convince the king that, yeah, this city's not safe, and the people of the city make their way to Helm's Deep, which is a fortress. We get a point, too, where as the caravan's being attacked as they're going to Helm's Deep, Aragorn gets separated from the caravan, and as he makes it back, he sees the army entering Helm's Deep. I mean, not entering Helm's Deep, leaving Isengard. So when he gets back, he warns the king, and they're preparing for battle. And there's a great scene where Legolas is talking in Elvish about how they're afraid. And study the eyes, like, even the extras, you can see fear in their eyes, and you can even see it in Legolas's eyes. He's a character that would have never experienced death before, and now that he's experienced it with people he knows, you can tell he's afraid too. He knows he could die. The friendship between Gimli and Legolas grows stronger in this one, with some smart aleck banter back and forth, like when the army arrives at Helm's Deep, he tells Gimli, "Would you like me to describe it, or shall I find you a box?" Or they're keeping score over who's killed more Uruk-hai. Merry and Pippin find their courage in this film. They stay with Treebeard, meet the Ents, and the Ents initially decide, oh, we need to weather this. We can't get involved like any isolationist nation that tends to not get involved till the threat's at their doorstep. The Ents decide, Treebeard, you take them back to the Shire. So they convince Treebeard to take them by Isengard. And when he sees what happened to the forest, well, the trees are mad. And while this is going on, the Battle of Helm's Deep is happening. And this battle is big. It's epic. The army of elves come to help the men of Helm's Deep out, which is in the book, but they protect Helm's Deep's rear from the Wildmen. But in this time, they're fighting side by side, but it's still a few thousand at most versus 10,000 orcs, and it's just wave after wave. It's hard, brutal fighting, and you really feel the panic and the franticness of this battle. Eventually, Helm's Deep is breached, and they have to ride out and meet the orcs on the field. Fortunately, Gandalf's been gone. Gandalf the White now. He came back from his death, as you know. And he meets with the exiled forces of Rohan. So as they ride out in the day, he uses his powers to brighten the sunlight behind them, blinding the orcs, and the retreating forces get killed by the trees in the forest. And then we get the Battle of Isengard, where the tree Ents just tear things up. And this scene I loved. It was both all-inspiring and funny because it was, the trees are so mad they're going to war. There's even a scene where they break the dam and one of the trees is on fire. He runs into the oncoming water and ducks his head down to put himself out. But that was a great, memorable scene. Hold on. And then Frodo and Sam making their way closer to Mount Doom, they meet up with Gollum, who turns out to be both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because he knows a secret way into Mordor. A curse because he really wants to kill them and take the ring for himself. And Gollum is one of the most well-done CG characters ever. The techniques pioneered with Andy Serkis, can't speak enough of them. There's a reason he played Kong in the remake that Peter Jackson did after this, and there's the reason he played Caesar in Planet of the Apes, and there's even a reason he was cast to play Snoke. Although I won't talk about Star Wars. Star Wars is a franchise that will not be mentioned until they fix it. And the performances, again, are great, and we meet Faramir, brother of Boromir. Again, get the extended edition. It's on Blu-ray now, and it goes into so much more depth with Faramir. We see how little the father thinks of him and is constantly putting him down and putting Boromir on a pedestal, and we see how close Boromir and Faramir really are, and the two actors look like they could be brothers in real life. And it looks like Faramir's going to take the ring for himself, but he ultimately decides, let Frodo go, even though he knows under his father's laws it means his life is forfeit. Faramir is a great, heroic, and tragic character. Yeah, he lives, but he's still tragic because of the life he had and what little his father thinks about him. He's probably my second favorite character in Lord of the Rings after Aragorn. And it's got a nice wrap up with one last scene between Frodo and Sam and Gandalf before that saying, the Battle of Helm's Deep is over. The battle for, Sauron's wrath will be terrible, his retribution swift. The battle for Helm's Deep is over. The battle for Middle Earth is about to begin, and oh, we had no clue sitting back in the day seeing this in the theater. We had no clue the battle we would see on screen 1 year later. Still, the greatest on screen battle I've ever seen in my life is the Battle of Pelennor Fields. I can't wait to get to that one. And I plan on uploading that video on the film's 15th anniversary. Which, yeah, this film's going to be 16 years old, and I'll say the one drawback, even though Gollum is one of the best implemented CG characters ever, there's points where he didn't age so well, but what do you expect with a 15-year-old movie going to be 16? After I do the trilogy, I'm going to do a video talking more about the characters because I don't have enough time to do all of this in one video, so don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Be on the lookout for Return of the King, the characters video, and the Rebirth of Mothra, which will be my next video. Just watched it last night. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Over and out.